General Protocol Spaces. Banking on Freedom.
All right. Yeah, so I guess we should officially get started. This is General Bull 39 of N. We're going to do something a little bit fun, just have a break, have a little bit of fun, do some shit talking. We're going to do a holiday coin roast, and all coins are on the table. No holds are barred. We're just here to talk some shit. So let's get into it. I know Uname is gonna run most of this, so let's go for it, Uname.
Oh my God, I'm basically an old guy by blockchain standards. So what I'm probably gonna talk about are all like the old and rotten guys. Like I wouldn't have much to say about Pepe. I don't know it. I don't know the token. What the hell?
Let's
What the hell
start.
is
Let's start with BCH though, right? Like all coins are on the table. Like we were talking today, right, about the biannual. Is it biannual or semi-annual? Semi-annual disaster. Biannual disaster that BCH has, right? Every 2 years. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So this is a kind of joking but not really thing that I don't remember, was it me who first made the observation or someone else? But anyway, that since the BCH fork, we don't count anything earlier than that. Since the BCH fork in 2017, we've had three major disasters, and each of them has brought like the price down, and the community was. The community was severely punished and splintered, and a lot of people left. That kind of disaster that happened every 2 years, like clockwork. So first one was of course the 2018 BSV split. That was I mean that had a long time coming, but the effects were pretty bad. And the second one was the 2020 Bitcoin ABC split, now called XEC, and the final one, hopefully, is the 2022 collapse of SBCH. And so, the observation was made that BCH goes through a disaster, goes through a complete disaster, like once every 2 years, and that's a large part of the reason why our price hasn't been up over the years, as well as community and other things. Well, I mean, it's 2024. We are in December. We are almost halfway through December. Nothing really terrible has happened yet. Fingers crossed. If nothing else happens for the next like 2 weeks or so, then I mean, it's not really like a complete, like, oh, we win everything. Yes, there'll be no more roadblocks. But hey, we won something, and that's right.
The curse has been lifted. Maybe we'll see if we can get there.
I think you can do better than that. I think there was a disaster this year, and it was the release and then subsequent promotion and so forth of hijacking Bitcoin. But it just wasn't a disaster for us. It was a disaster for the BTC guys. It's transferred onto them. They're the ones who've had a disaster this year.
Oh shit.
We're learning the dark arts. Sindar disasters. Curse.
I could think of a couple other telltale signs that the curse might have been transferred, but yeah.
Back in the day, switching to BCH was a very painful thing, right? For those of us who spent years supporting it, promoting it, thinking about building on it, and then just to switch over was a huge deal. Was giant, right? That was a socially unacceptable position kind of at the time. But man, imagine being in BTC shoes today. Like what a painful, uncomfortable, really confusing, conflicting situation to be in with all these people who there isn't even a common narrative there anymore, right? Like even the store value narrative just doesn't even stand up anymore. It's falling apart.
Well, I mean, to be fair, it still has a major advantage in that it is the thing that all the rich people are buying. But I think that kind of flips all the things about BTC on the head. Like I try to get this out, but I don't know if it's actually working. But uh, BTC is basically now their coin, and BCH is like our coin, mine coin, my coin, kind of. And I think it's I think it's worth it. I think it's worth something. Like BTC is like, okay, those really rich guys that happens to borrow a lot of money from the financial system, like Michael Saylor. Oh yeah, it's their coin, and they have to say, and they actually push the narrative that is not for you. You peasants can actually just hold your thing on exchanges and whatnot, or in funds. It's becoming that it's going that way very rapidly, and the way it goes, it makes all the discussions and fights about CTV and all the new use cases that users can use. It makes them kind of pointless. Like, okay, so it's not my coin anymore. What does it matter? Why does any of that matter?
Yeah, that's kind of the angle I was coming from also, right? The people who actually care and have some kind of intent beyond just expecting the number to go up forever. Those people who have some kind of intent and they want something to happen with Bitcoin, with BTC, they have to be in a really bad mental condition. Jeremy, what are your thoughts on all these upgrades, like your latest analysis of CTV and OpCat and all these guys who are trying to do upgrades on BTC, but they're really in this kind of weird social outcast position? What are your thoughts on these guys?
Well, the biggest problem that they're having is that just fundamentally they can't accept that there was a permanent hijacking, and we've been telling them that forever. And one of the things about having a mental barrier is that even once you can see it, or even once you can feel it, people are stubborn. They keep bashing their head against the wall a long time, because to give that up requires rearranging so many of their other assumptions, which is painful, and also accepting, and then they go through a period of grieving the loss of what they were trying to do, and feeling like, wait, I actually was an idiot that whole time. And it doesn't help in this case, because all of us are piling in on top of them saying, we told you so, we told you so, we told you so. And the point of doing that is, while it's unpleasant for them, and I do feel bad for them in that respect, is that we have to, change happens once the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of changing, right? And so us piling on that mockery really helps to ramp up that pain of staying the same, until it will hit an unbearable point between that and them trying to make progress and never getting anywhere, that they finally realize, God, guys, we've got to do something different. And that's why I was super pleased that I made that Three Castles meme with the guy standing at the crossroads, the BTC non-ossifiers, and then he's got the Nightmare Castle with plead uselessly to Bitcoin Core. He's got the Nightmare Castle with Chain Split, and then the happy Sunny Castle with build on BCH, because that's a complete inversion of the world that they think that they're living in, and that they have thought that they were living in for the past several years. But as time goes on, it's just becoming harder and harder for them to deny to themselves that they're trying to swim upstream. At a certain point they have, and you still see it all the time, all these comments on Twitter where people say, oh, one day, eventually, somehow consensus will kind of emerge, or the culture is changing, or they have all these ideas about it. It'll get there one day. But time is just constantly bleeding away from them. And the further BCH gets ahead of them, the more like we're already at the point where BCH is far enough ahead that we kind of don't really bother talking to them that much. We do a little bit, but it's mostly sort of out of pity, right? Back in the day, it used to be more of a debate. Now it's not really a debate. Everybody knows that BCH is technically better. That's one thing in 2024 has just become accepted fact, essentially. And then that means all the excitement is going to be with us releasing new things, having new announcements, having interesting discussion. Like they're just increasingly going to feel left behind, basically.
Yeah, and one thing like you mentioned that a lot of people have hope that this thing would eventually reach consensus and it will be super nice and new things will come out of it from the consensus that was built. Like on BTC, I wouldn't just say that they never get anything new into their consensus, because they did. They did, and that was a while ago. That was Taproot, and a lot of people were actually pretty proud of that. Like, oh yeah, I helped. I think there was a pool operator or someone who said, oh yeah, I was pretty proud. I was part of getting Taproot activated. And you know what?
That was Poolin.
That was what?
That was Poolin, and they were actually one of the primary movers that made Taproot get activated. Yeah, there was something else behind that. There's some shady stuff going on there.
Yeah. The really ironic thing though is that that already happened once, but it didn't really address the base cultural and capacity problem of BTC. So what ended up happening is that it's been a while since Taproot was activated, and nothing really of note came out of that. Lightning was still as shitty as ever. And then you said, did literally nothing happen? No, something happened, and it was actually pretty significant. Except that the one thing that happened that came out of Taproot made BTC's existing number one problem a lot worse. It was
right.
It was so ironic. So I mean, like people so, and then people are like, okay, so yeah, let's forget about that. Let's but this set of new things, this set of new things that also doesn't address the underlying problem. Surely it would solve everything, right? Right.
Yeah, so I have a little bit of a story to tell about that I think most people did not see. Most people have not seen, both in BTC and BCH. So as AnyHedge, the makers of AnyHedge, right, we have a vested interest in understanding what's going on with that kind of derivatives or leverage or just speculation, hedging, savings, that kind of thing product, right? And in BTC, there was a plan. There was a company called Atomic Finance. And they were planning to do pretty much exactly what AnyHedge is, except on BTC using Taproot. And I looked at it and I was like, wow, okay, that's really, really inelegant, the way that it worked. But technically it worked. But like technically it would work.
They had a really complicated setup where when they build their contract, they just preempt literally all the possible outcomes that you can use, right? Something like that.
Yeah. They pre-signed every possible outcome, and then the company basically chose the correct outcome. You trusted the company to choose the correct outcome at the end, which is funny, right? Because it left the trust to them anyway. But anyway, it looked like a viable thing. I was like, okay, maybe that would work. And not only that, but they had this protocol and this thing using Taproot, and they had all this like social media prepared, right? Where they had all the BTC influencers and the big names like Samson Mao and all the Blockstream guys, Adam, Blue Matt, some others, probably Max. I don't remember if Max Kaiser, if he was on there. All of these guys on there, like promoting it and saying like, yeah, it's going to be amazing. I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to make bets against people, blah, 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 blah. And it just, poof, it just disappeared. I looked one day and it was just a different thing. They were like, yeah, we're doing something else. And all that stuff was gone. Like it just disappeared.
What
And I don't think anybody ever saw it.
What are they doing these days?
Yeah, it's some completely different setup that is even less interesting than the thing that they had with TapSwap. But yeah, anyway, my story was just to the point of yeah, they obviously spent a lot of money and time and effort coming up with this, and then just didn't happen. I'm not sure why it didn't happen. I mean, I wouldn't build on BTC, so I can imagine a bunch of reasons why, but I don't know exactly why they stopped. But yeah, that was kind of disappointing. I was expecting some competition to pop up, but it didn't.
Well,
it just vanished.
You reap what you sow, basically, is what it is. So all of the kind of lies and stuff that they tell themselves, well, some of them are just bad actors, right? So if you can't kick out the bad actors, then they just fester and they get more powerful and they find more ways to just subvert things and create problems and gaslight each other and stuff into just a massive, downward spiral. But I think there's really like we're past a narrative breaking point to me. I think 2024 has been huge for that. We just talked about hijacking Bitcoin before, was absolutely enormous. But even this is something I'm not going to go in detail about this, but essentially I've been on a bit of a semi-solo mission. I got into a couple of BTC Telegram groups, and instead of firstly, we did that with the What Bitcoin Did Telegram group. We went in there, we kind of argued with them. Their arguments were so flimsy and pathetic that it was easy to just kind of beat them down while trying to skirt the rules of moderation. Clearly the message was getting through, but you have to say it, with enough sugar or in a roundabout enough way that you don't immediately get banned. And eventually that kind of ran out of utility once it was clear that, okay, these people just want to rot here, so we'll just leave them to it. But they had no arguments. They were just psychologically defeated, in effect. And
That's brutal.
But I just did the same. I've been on a bit of it's a tricky thing to do, right? Because the line is so fine that you don't want to just have tons of people in there. It quickly gets messy and out of hand. But I did a bit of a solo mission with one other collaborator that I will not name, and we've been doing a similar job on some of the BTC, Telegram groups. And
PvP raid.
BTC Telegrams. I sort of think it is like it's like 2-man mission, to blow up the bunkers kind of thing. Like you couldn't do it with that many people. You can't be a frontal attack. You just need a couple of special operatives. And anyway, basically similar story there, right? I eventually got banned from one of them. The discussion kind of died down because it's hard for anybody to really say anything once they realize, oh shit, if I say anything wrong, I'm just going to get absolutely rocked. So, that's now happening in the, Telegram groups that they are trying to coordinate some of their stuff. And of course, eventually, those groups kind of go stale because they can't have a self-reinforcing circle jerk with someone like me in there undermining every false point so they have to move to another group if they want to preserve that echo chamber. But the fact of having to move and having seen that their most experienced devs or the most trusted community figures or whatever can get absolutely roasted is a huge morale destroyer and puts a lot of doubt in their mind. And that's also at the same time as the hijacking, stuff becomes public knowledge, really.
You're really doing them a huge favor, right? Because as your meme, your very excellent meme, which I have shared in the Twitter Space role at the top, it's the nightmare scenario versus the dream scenario meme, right? The left side, right side, and you tripled it, and you said the left side, the nasty one is plead uselessly to Bitcoin Core gatekeepers. and then chain split and then build on BCH is the actual good outcome, the third outcome, the good one. And you're doing them a huge favor, because what's not happening to them is that the Peter Todds and the Adam Backs and the Gregory Maxwells and the Luke Juniors aren't actually engaging with them, right? They're just ridiculing them from the outside. And if any of those guys came in there, they would just nuke the whole discussion, right? It would just be over. Peter Todd would come in and be like, yeah, we're not doing this. That would be the end of it, right?
Maybe.
So you do them a favor to help them realize that they're just off on a weird branch that's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know so much about that. In a certain way, they're doing us a favor as well, too, which is that the BCH community is increasingly growing and spreading, and there's been more innovation, and our media reach is getting bigger, and all that stuff, because essentially we have the antibodies against all of those people. So firstly, they're distracted by the fact that they have to deal with these guys. You know, they have to sort their own kingdom, as it were, out first. They have to maintain their own internal domestic affairs. And if there's people who are dissatisfied and trying to bring up other things and trying to run conferences and all this kind of stuff, then that's a problem that they have on their agenda. There's the stuff that I dug up from that Op Next conference that they had. And if you watch the clip that I reposted, which is from Paul Stortz's talk, he literally starts off by saying, okay, back in the block size wars, we had these scaling conferences, and after the first one or two, it just became circle jerk. Basically, it just became nonsense. Nothing important was said, because I guess all the BCH, the big block people at the time, realized that it was a scam, and they all basically stopped coming. So then there was no real dialogue to be had, and it all became a circle jerk. And he then goes on even further, and he says, not only was that the case then, now this conference that we're at right now, which I am a speaker at, is on the borderline of being the exact same as that. Like, where is the real conversation? I don't know if you saw this clip, but it's amazing. And I tagged him in that, and he afterwards sent me a DM and said, oh, you know, I really enjoyed like roasting all it. Like, Peter Todd and these other guys are in the audience there as he is saying that. And if you watch several of the talks, which I did, you know, of course, Peter Todd just interjects whenever he needs to throw in a red herring and, you know, disrupt any productive conversation that is starting to happen. But the discontent is just fermenting among them. And of course, keeping BTC sabotaged is an ongoing effort. And that's for those people, that's sucking up their time, their attention, their resources, while BCH is able to crack on its own. So obviously, if they do, we have to be ready, because at some point they'll come back and no doubt try some other shit. But while they're busy, it's a great time for us.
Yes, it's a really good point, right? That as much as we like to bag on BTC and be like, look, it's complete nonsense, the people, whoever it was, I don't know, I'll never know exactly what their motivations were, but the people who did hijack Bitcoin, as the Hijacking Bitcoin book explains in a very well-sourced way, a historical way, they did it very effectively, and they really derailed Bitcoin at that time, right? BTC off the rails. They did a very good job of it, and it's you have to kind of give them kudos for that, and like you said, be wary. So BCH has to be very wary of that going forward. But yeah, man.
I guess that's all I have to say, really, on that topic. But you can definitely look back on my feed a little way if you want to find the hoax. I put it on the same thread where I had the hoax video explaining all the details of the hoax, and then I tagged that onto the Tucker Carlson Roger interview. And I don't know that it was the most liked or commented reply or anything like that, but it was probably up there. It was probably in the top 5 or 10 that people who had a little bit of a scroll around probably would have at least seen it go past. And you can see in those comment sections how much the narrative is changing. The BCH story is kind of bubbling up through there. Okay, there's still laser eyes saying this is all bullshit, and et cetera, but Firstly, they're replying now to the Tucker is bigger than all of their platforms. He's bigger than Michael Saylor. He's bigger than, there's always a bigger fish, right? Elon Musk presumably watched at least some of that interview because he put in some exclamation points. Roger has said that he talked to Elon several years ago and explained about all this in private like one time. So who knows, that might be a wild card for 2025 is if Elon thinks that among his other 20 things that he's busy fixing, I was just listening about how he's fixing AI. He's just done some breakthroughs in AI that nobody else thought was possible, and he, spent like a week on it or whatever and just immediately fixed it. But if he gets around to being like, this crypto stuff really needs to get fixed, then having some of that stuff, okay, Tucker Carlson and Roger Ver and the hijacking all on his mind, could also be just a black swan moment if he comes out firing to really change the situation.
Yeah,
All right.
I kind of want to make one last observation about the whole BTC scenario. Like, in a sense, they are sort of the victims of their own quote unquote success, and I put success in quotes because well, we're BCH, we don't really recognize that success. But anyway, so like if you define success as, oh, we gain a lot in price, those guys over there do not, and then you ask, okay, how did we get the success? And then in the case of BTC, that will be okay, so we explicitly back then we quote unquote won because we you craft a narrative that we won because we did X. In the case of BTC, that X is being extremely resistant to change, and so we are small blockers, we are resistant to change, and that is why we won. You can make that narrative and a lot of people will believe you, but then later on it might come back to bite you. It might come back to bite you, and then later on you're like, hey, okay guys, well, how about we actually don't be resistant to change? And then people are like, wasn't that how we won in the first place? So
it's even worse than that. It's even worse than that, right? Because like I was pointing out to, I think it was Moonsettler the other day, he's like, we can't ossify. And I'm like, don't worry, dude. It's not ossified at all. There's all kinds of changes happening. It's just that they're shitty changes. That's all. They're not good changes. Yeah. Don't worry.
So I hope that in BCH, and I'm seeing this right now, and this is awesome. In that when we win, we can credibly tell ourselves and people that, oh, we won on the back of rational and reasonable debate, discussion, and careful engineering, and so on and so forth. Doing the reasonable things instead of something that is we had the biggest blocks, that's why we won. Well, if you get to somewhere, even something that only somehow resembles success on the back of that, it's not really sustainable. Like, we have like the biggest terabyte blocks. We did a stress test, and that's how we won. Maybe we can do that sometimes, but it's dangerous to build narratives around things that are not what you ultimately want, because it might come back to bite you. So I think we are on a good path to not fall into the same traps.
All right, so this is the holiday roast, the coin roast. Let's move on from. We can agree the emperor has no clothes. Let's move on. How about the world computer?
Do they still talk about the world computer?
No, nobody says that.
No, they do. No, they do. They do. Vitalik. Yeah. If you haven't watched at DevCon in 2024, just like a month or two ago, Vitalik's keynote he gave, which is what about Ethereum, or what is Ethereum, the sort of primer intro to Ethereum. And he starts off the first or second slide. He says, Ethereum is the world computer. And then he kind of goes, well, it's a lot of different things. And a lot of people will tell you it's a lot of different things. But it kind of started as the world computer, and it sort of still is.
It's the
and
world's
that's how I think of it.
QBasic computer.
I thought they migrated to the money thing a while ago.
Ultrasound money. Well, they have
Yeah.
that as well, but they're just confused. That's the thing. I mean, I'm really not bullish on Ethereum at all. I sort of never have been, although they got a long way just on the back of not having the block size, war disruption in their community, and then the fact that, well, when you're going from 0 megabytes to 1 or 2 megabytes, you've got plenty of room, But I'm so not bullish on that at all, because Justin Drake is basically up there. He's now got the Beam chain. They spent whatever it was, 5 years re-architecting everything to get away from proof of, probably longer, really, from 2017, 2016 through until like 2021 or 2022 when they did that. When did the merge happen? 2022, right? So they did that, and now they've had things going along for another year, and now they want to start another 5-year complete boondoggle, like re-architecting and rewriting of everything. It's an engineer's dream.
What is it this time?
Well, it's called the Beam chain, and which is kind of it sounds like the B chain, or they already have the Beacon chain, so the Beam chain is so similar that it's actually very confusing branding, to be totally honest. But anyway, he's decided, you can watch his talk where he's got this 5-year grand plan to sort of rewrite different things in the internals that isn't going to make that much of a, like, he's going to want to do it in 5 years. It will take him longer. It will take him 7 or 8 years, probably.
It's a ZK thing.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird. It's kind of weird though, because people have been wanting to just say that, we'll just like do this do ZK thing, like you slap a ZK logo on things, and everything is magically solved. There is a good argument for ZK in terms of privacy, in terms of a tool for privacy, but I'm not sure how much of Ethereum's problem is, like, in scaling, is actually solved by ZK, to be honest. Like,
it never made any sense to me whatsoever.
It saves on storage costs, but that's not really the problem.
It's the balkanization of the whole thing, right? It's like you can't have network effect of, Sushi Swap versus some other swap versus some other service. They just cannot have network effect together as long as they're balkanized.
It's not all the swaps now. It's now all the chains, and then you got 20 chains, and then you got 20 swaps, and then the 20 swaps each have their own version on the 20 chains, and then you have to build an aggregator to deal with all those chains simultaneously,
right?
Which spams all of them and brings you back to square one.
Exactly, because your zero knowledge proof has to include all the relevant state that you're interacting with. So if person A is interacting with 3 different chains, L2s plus L1, then the zero knowledge proof has to include all 3 or 4 of those things. So exactly like you said, you're back to square one. They're
in a real mess. They're in a serious mess.
Computer science, right? Like, anybody who's studied computer science and just looks at it on its face, you're like, that's not going to work, right? I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. That's how I've always felt about it.
But they're in such a mess. There's so many fronts that they're in trouble, because the first element is their price has been dropping relative to BTC, right? So they got a lot of traction out of, the stupid BTC guys, we're increasing on the ratio, ultrasound money, we're the gigabrains and they're the midwits, like they got a lot of traction out of that. But now that their chain is also just clogged up and the fees are high, and so forth. Like the pendulum has just turned on them, where they have the same problems as BTC, but for different reasons. But at the same time, they don't have the benefit of, okay, we're a solid proof of work coin, which wasn't pre-mined by the ETH Foundation and all that stuff, is coming back to bite. So they're struggling on the rank above them. They're losing ground there. They're also losing ground on the rank below them, which is Solana, where I don't know all the details too much about Solana, but what I do know is that they spent a couple of years saying, haha, look at all these ETH killer chains, look at this, look at that. These guys are all just essentially shitcoiners. ETH killers is just their version of shitcoiners. And then that worked for a while, but it stopped working because Solana has actually been making progress, and they're starting to actually worry and freak out about it. So they're struggling at the level above, and then they've got increasing competition from below. Between those two things, price dropping relatively means their ecosystem resources are going to dry out, and then anybody trying to come in from outside is just already flooding into alternatives. And then you have Justin Drake trying to do this beam chain boondoggle for the next 5 years. It's a nightmare.
The really funny thing about the whole ultrasound money thing is that they kind of undermine themselves, because it's really weird. Like the ultrasound money thing is another way of turning the whole high fees thing on their head, right? Like the BTC way to deal with this is that, oh yeah, we have high fees, but it doesn't matter. You peasants should not be concerned about on-chain transactions anyway. The Ethereum way to deal with it is really funny. Like, okay, we have high fees, but that is actually a good thing. And the reason that is a good thing is because of EIP 1559.
The ban.
Yeah. So the more fees you spend, the more fees are burned, and that makes the price go up to infinity, hockey stick and stuff. Go parabolic and shit. Well, so on one hand, you kind of need this to go the ultrasound way. On the other hand, people are obviously not happy, so you say, okay, you can go to L2s. You can go to all those L2s. But the thing about L2s is that they don't really contribute to your network effect. They're basically their entire chains that pay some, in terms of economic, pay some lip service to you by committing on your chain, and then they also most importantly, you tell people to go there to have lower fees, so people go there to have lower fees, and now you don't have that fee. You are not getting the ultrasound thing, and it's a dilemma, and I'm not sure how to get out of this. It's a really weird place to be in. It's a different place than BTC, but it's weird.
Wait, okay. So on this point, this is fundamentally COPE, right? Very simply, it's COPE, where it's like, hey, we have this thing and it's working really well, and we used to say it's amazing because we can do all this cool stuff, and it's way cheaper than BTC, and it's way more powerful, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, it's not cheaper anymore. As a matter of fact, it's way more expensive now. And then this COPE develops, right? This is like some kind of universal human mechanism.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, but this is actually good.
This is actually good. And I'd like to, maybe this isn't the right time for it, right? But I'm a fan of self-flagellation. And I'd like to take this back to BCH and the COPEs in BCH. Does anybody have a kind of favorite COPE in BCH? I don't know. There's some of them.
I cope. I mean, I don't really cope about the low price. I just cry. So
we just cry on the low price, right? Like we recognize that the price is important, but that's one of the COPEs, right? Where people are like, no, it's good the price is low because they come up with some reasons why it's good that the price is low. Yeah, I saw Cheap Lightning raising his hand there. What's up, Cheap Lightning? What's the COPE?
Well, there are so many, but I think number one is Daddy. Everyone is waiting for Trump is coming into office. He's going to make everything amazing, and then if Roger's going to make everything amazing, and just on and on and on. Daddy's going to come and make everything amazing. And I just see it all the time, especially in price chat, right? So it's like, all we need is one influencer, and it'll be amazing, right? And it's like, nah, you got to put the hard work in, right? I think that's number one. I don't hear anything. Am I talking to myself?
Yeah. I do hear you. And as I said, I don't really have much cope to say. I just cry. So
I don't know. I think my favorite one, it's not really my favorite, it's kind of my least favorite, which I guess makes it my favorite, but it's just any kind of victim mentality, complaining, whining. Like, I just cannot deal with it. And we've had it less and less of it. And someone is one of my favorite memes because it's the exact antidote to that kind of complaining as to, I need this, I need that, I need that. And I think we're doing a lot better on that front. That's done a lot to get rid of this endless discussion about why can't this thing happen, or someone should do this, or where's the resources going to come from? It's like whatever resources we have, that's the constraints we're working with. Maybe in the future it won't be that way, but right now that's what it is. So kind of got to crack on and do the best with what you've got. So yeah, any kind of victim complaining. I still see a little bit of sort of complaining about the BTC guys that I really hope we can get rid of. It's okay, like I was talking about before, to have, mocking them and so forth. Like that does actually serve a purpose. So it's not like we should never talk to them, and it's not like we always have to be polite and angelic towards them. But anything that's coming from a reactive, defensive kind of point of view, which is much less common now than it used to be, but there's still a little bit of it. It just undermines the sort of happy, and in the cases where it's not happy, at least sort of superior and self-confident vibe. So I'm really hoping that over the next year, even those last fragments that we still have of that will fade away. Although we'll have to be careful, because as the community grows, we'll attract back some of the people who left, and they will want to come in order to take credit and do a lot of dunking when they actually pissed off, like their toxic, bad influence. We got rid of them and then made a lot of progress. And then they'll come in and be like, oh, I knew it, I was right all along. BCH is better, suck it, BTC guys, etc. And it's like, well, it's better now because you weren't here for a few years. So we do need to be really cognizant of that.
Well, at the very least, a lot of us, we stayed and put in the hard work, and I like to think that matters. There's actually a not insignificant stream of voice that is basically an extension of what you mentioned, which is that BCH can literally just be a bigger block version of BTC, and that's enough. And when in due time, BTC would clog, and that would show our superiority, and we'll just win, just like that. Snap fingers. That's it. That has gotten less and less over the years, because that clearly is not a thing that works. It turns out that you actually need to do the work. You actually need to do a lot of work, and not a lot of those work are even novel things, new things, instead of just maintenance. There's a lot of shit involved. So yeah, we've been switching, and we're walking a lot of tightropes at once. We want to keep all the desirable things, and but also get to improving a lot of others. But yeah, clearly that part of the cope is not working anymore, and it's not working anymore. Very few people are talking about that anymore, and I would say, good, let's get working.
Yeah, win instead of just somehow by default winning. No, you got to work to win, and you got to understand what game you're playing. I got kicked out a minute ago. Twitter decided that I didn't belong in this talk, and I had to bring myself back in. But I wanted to say something further to Cheap Lightning's point about Daddy. If Daddy comes in and does the right thing, like Daddy Musk or Daddy Trump or whatever comes in and does the thing, then BCH will just go to the moon, and it'll be amazing. That has a real downside to it, right? A huge downside. And what I was going to bring up is Doge, right? So Doge, there's Doge, and maybe Papa Musk is going to promote Doge, and everybody's like, yay, Doge is going to take off. The price is going to shoot up. And yeah, sure, you may win in some aspect, but there's a huge risk on the flip side of that, which is Doge is now owned by Musk, right? Whatever he says is what happens on Doge. So there's a huge risk there, right? With somebody coming with a big papa coming in and starting to promote the thing. You have to be very careful with that. Not that you can be careful with it, but just there's a cost there, right? If somebody comes in and you don't have an ecosystem full of businesses and services and users and customers that is already very powerful, then Big Papa comes in and starts to throw his weight around, and whatever they say goes. And that may not have anything to do with permissionless money for the world. So there's a real danger there. Because that's how I see Doge now. I just see it as Elon coin is the way I see it now.
Or Sailor, right? Don't forget.
Or Sailor, yeah. BTC is Sailor coin, whatever. Yeah. So there's a risk to that, right? To the cope of, Big Papa coming in and promoting the thing is going to make everything okay. All right.
Also,
definitely. I'm gonna have to go in a minute, guys. By the way, just heads up.
Yeah, sure. All right. It's good to have you, man. I appreciate you jumping on here after the other one, after our crowded schedule on Friday.
Yeah, but that kind of also brings us to like the general phenomenon of meme coins, and most of them are completely non-valuable, but some has shot up a lot. Some has even passed to BCH in some charts. So I mean, the scams aside, like most of them are scams, and they'll go the way scams usually go, like in due time. But even if you don't believe they are scams, they all have the same problem, which is that their price and value and whatever is tied to one person or one thing, and that's not something that lasts. In one person or one thing eventually goes away. Sometimes they go away literally and physically, like they die, and sometimes they just fade away in the public consciousness. And so when that happens, your value collapses. Like, okay, Musk today is still like the richest person. Well, I don't think he's like. Is he still the literal richest
He's
person?
number one. Yeah.
It's like 400 billion. I think it's hard to top that.
Yeah. So, one day that won't be true anymore. So what happens by then? And is that what you aim for? Is if that is what your coin is aiming for, then yeah, sure, that go ahead and just know what you're getting into. But if you aim for something bigger, then that's really not a good place to be, and it's kind of hard to get out of it. Like yeah.
Well, it's also a cope to be like, we don't want any influencers or very famous, very influential people to promote BCH. That's also a cope, right? That's the other side of the cope coin. We don't want them to promote. It's like, no, we actually do. It's just we want to also have a whole economy that's already there, that where it's just plus one instead of plus 1,000.
Well, I would say so. It's okay. It's okay to have like even really big names. Like obviously that is a good thing, but you just like kind of you don't want to define yourself around it, right? Like if Elon tweets about BCH, is that a good thing? Yes, it's obviously a good thing, but you don't want to become like the Elon coin. Like that
Exactly.
is a bad thing.
Yeah. All right. We recognize that we've got Cope on all coins. ETH with the world computer and fees going up is good. Same thing happened with BTC. Fees going up. Oh, it's good. It's a good thing, right? Yeah. There's a lot of Cope floating around. All right. What about the other coins? Like for a long time, people were talking about the Cardano or some other UTXO or UTXO like chains, but I never bought it, and I always thought that they made really questionable technical decisions that,
Yes,
in the
but
long term, would completely kneecap them in terms of scaling, just generally being not well considered
yes,
designs.
but they're still on top of us, like in the rank, and
Yeah, okay, right,
in the ranking, in the ranking
right in
and
the
shit, they're
market
still
cap
on
ranking,
top of
right?
that.
That's right. I don't really
Um,
hear about them anymore, though. They don't seem to be out in the.
Yeah, they've got some new thing where they're talking about like becoming second layer to BTC or something. I didn't read the details, but they're just like before. What's his face? Hoskins, whatever, was like feeling around BCH. Is like maybe we could do the thing with BCH, and everyone here was like, yeah, do what you want, but no. And then apparently they just took it off and are running on the same idea, but with BTC instead of BCH. But I don't know the details of it.
Yeah, that was Hoskins, right? Like they're trying to
Yeah,
merge mine with BTC or no,
something
become
like
a second layer of BTC.
something
I'm
like
not
that.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, in the case of Cardano and other similar coins, like they and even XRP, like it recently popped a lot, and people are like, ah, why aren't you like XRP? So the thing to know about this coins is that they are almost completely centralized, and by almost completely centralized, I don't actually like a lot of the times when we talk about centralization that we mean like, oh yeah, the protocol is controlled by one person or one company, they can do whatever they want, therefore your coins are not safe. No, I'm not talking about that aspect. Also, although that is also true,
Also,
which
that
makes me
aspect.
yeah, also, but that is also true, which makes me not want to get into those coins. But I'm specifically talking about like in the case of XRP and maybe and I think it's also true for Cardano in that the coin distribution is very centralized. Like in the case of XRP, I remember it's a while ago seeing a pie chart, like because they actually have a whole ass company, Ripple Labs, who's in San Francisco, and basically that company's entire operation depends on them having created for themselves, like uh, the entire supply of XRP, and then they've just been selling little bits of it ever since to fund themselves, and it's really lucrative. So it's a really surreal situation. So whenever you get this kind of situation, right, like you only have one or very few actors in the marketplace, and they can collude with each other very easily. If there are a few, or if there are just one entity, they don't even need to collude. They can just run the whole show themselves. It's very easy for them to extract value, and it's also relatively easy, although it is never permanently, for them to pump the price. Basically, like they can create hype, and because they don't have to worry about a lot of other people selling, because the biggest holder is literally themselves. As long as they don't sell, most of the coins are not going anywhere. um, so they can do all kinds of manipulations or operations, and they will show up on the market caps. Some of them are egregious enough that coin market cap doesn't even want to deal with them. I remember there was such a case a while ago. I forgot the name. But sometimes, if you do the rinse and repeat for long enough and gain a certain reputation, then you will stay up there, and there's very little anyone can do about it. So there is that kind of, and the key thing to know about this, guys, though, is that if you want to get into those, like if even if you don't care about the protocol and whatnot, you just want to get rich. Well, sure, yeah, if you get in at the right time, but you also need to know about the general rule of pyramid schemes, right? Although this is not literally a pyramid scheme, but I think some of the same rules apply.
It's very close.
Is that the value is gonna come from somewhere, someone's gonna ultimately pay the price that other people got in gains. So chances are, if it got to you and you finally made the decision to join, you're the one paying the price. So yeah, that's my general thought about, oh my god, this centralized things are pumping a lot for no apparent reason. What's the deal, kind of thing.
It's the biggest pyramid among a forest of pyramids, and it's lasted long enough that maybe you can get in and still be one of the ones who rugs the noobs at some point. Yeah, it's a ridiculous kind of process. All right, but so technically, I looked at those and or specifically Cardano, and I thought it was a bit ridiculous. It's not going to scale. They've totally foot gunned themselves on scaling by turning themselves into a pseudo Ethereum, pseudo EVM. What about Solana? Do you have any thoughts on Solana? So for me, I look at Solana and I'm like, okay, it's still fundamentally a global state model, and it's doomed to not scale no matter what kind of optimizations you do. I don't know.
I mean, Solana is basically the end result of, okay, what if we just relax some of the Ethereum things a little bit, and then try to push the gas thing really hard, and then see what happens, right? And then they got pretty far. And they like to continue claiming that, oh yeah, but we also got a lot of nodes. Well, about the node thing, the thing about the node though is that they have a Solana Foundation. The Solana Foundation controls a shitload of coins, and they actually have a program where they pay out of the Solana Foundation for people to run nodes for no apparent reason. Like they really just want the node counts up, and to show those ETH guys. So
it's a sustainability fund. We simulate what would happen if it were sustainable.
Yeah, I really don't like that kind of scheme though. Like it falls into the same trap as BTC basically, despite being on the opposite end of the spectrum. Like, okay, in BTC, you're like, okay, the thing that matters is node count. Like, if you got a lot of nodes, you're good. It doesn't matter what the nodes are used for. So here are 20,000 nodes or however many, 100,000 nodes. Yeah, we're good, and those nodes have a say. Yeah, but none of those are actually true. But it's a very convenient number that you can show to have a bigger dick than your opponent. So there you go. And on the opposite of the spectrum, so you basically have Solana going around like throwing money at people and say, oh yeah, by the way, run our node to get the numbers up. It's not. I mean, sometimes it's not even clear to me how many of those are actually like real people, and how many of those are just farm, but nobody cares. So, are they actually paying out? Are they actually paying out all the money to real people?
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
But anyway,
yeah, that's something we learned in BCH, right? These programs where they're like, yeah, we're gonna do a $200 million fund, and it's like, wait, really? actually it's going to be like a $5 million fund to somebody that's already on your team, and then a bunch of noise and wait, what? Yeah.
Yeah. So, but ultimately, it falls into the same trap of, okay, you got the nodes and the node numbers are up, and that means we're good. You know that is that doesn't hold, and so I'm not. I don't know how sustainable that is, and you know we know from a while ago that if you are not very sophisticated at hiding it, then things can get really haywire. Like in the case of XRP, they had to wholesale delete their entire several years of history to keep the nodes running. I don't know. Maybe Solana will hit that point at some point. And the more they do this pay to run nodes thing, the harder we'll be able to know when that happens.
Well, presumably they'll rug effectively before that point hits hard, right?
Well, I mean, there seems to be some people genuinely interested in the technical success there. It's just very hyper centralized, but what do I know, right?
So fundamentally, when I look at Cardano, I think Footgun, it's not going to scale. Solana, I haven't looked at enough. Is it even possible to scale it? Does it even make sense in the long term?
Well, I mean, the point they're trying to make is that they are already doing some really impressive numbers today, and what else we're trying to improve on it still, but minus that, what else do you want, right? Like they have some really absurd number, like some thousands or tens of thousands of transaction per second or something. The point is that, okay, yeah, but I want better. I want even more than that. But yeah, sure. This is like 10 times more than the next 10 biggest coins combined. So
interesting. So there's something like a BSV of a little bit.
Yeah, in a sense, they are kind of like BSV or to Ethereum, but except with less crazy people.
Right. All right.
Yeah.
How about let's go to the opposite side of like the EVM stuff. How about back to like Carol's coin? Have you been watching that?
Ergon?
Aragon.
Aragon?
I mean, I mean, it's
it's holiday roast. We got to roast everybody.
It is still unclear to me how they actually keep producing blocks, but perhaps the fact that they're still producing blocks is entirely due to the fact that they're tiny enough that some volunteers who don't give a shit about rewards can keep it going. But I will have to ask you guys, like, do you have any further insights on that?
I guess if you put in $5 worth of electricity and you get $5 worth of coin out, it's like, okay, all right.
I mean, I mean the whole premise of the whole premise of Ergon is that its production would basically scale with price, more or less. So higher price would lead to more production, which will bring the price down. But like, okay, so what happens when you have a lower price? Okay, so you have a lower price, you have lower production. What if the price gets really low? Yeah. In the case of Bitcoin, the difficulty adjusts down. so that the difficulty adjusts down so that it costs less to produce the same amount of coins. But in the case of Ergon, as far as I understand, you just get less coins. So I'm not sure how that works out.
Yeah, right, because it's proportional to the energy, regardless of what the value of the coin is. Yeah. And
Right.
like a lot of
But
things, it bases on the assumption that it's going to be valuable and people are going to find it valuable. So whether they do or not.
But in any case, the other day I saw a proposal on not proposal, a concept sketch, I would say, on GitHub that Bitcoin Cash artist posted from someone else about a possible tokenization of the BCH proof of work, which I find pretty interesting. It is not complete. It didn't actually get to the point where where you can make a token. But I find the idea pretty interesting. If we do that, it means that we can probably have something like a tradable future proof of work somehow.
Oh, you mean the proof of work Oracle? That's what you're talking about, right?
No, like I think there was the Oracle, and then there was another claim that you can actually tokenize that, which got me pretty excited. But then look at the proposal; it didn't actually get to the tokenization part. But fundamentally, I don't see a reason why it couldn't be done. It would just take a lot of work. So it's probably implementable on BCH today, and someone have to do the work of actually bringing it to reality. I can see a lot of I can see at least one useful use case, which is to have completely trustless pools, where people use tokens to redeem their share of coins from a pool, and that is tied to the proof of work. But it's all very rudimentary. Someone has to do the additional work. So.
All right. Well, I wish Carol success and Ergon success, even though I think he would have been achieved more by staying with the network effect and building on Bitcoin Cash. But I understand why he decided to do his thing. So
I mean, you never know, right? Like, if we can prove that it is possible to do that today on BCH, maybe one day he will get tired of that thing,
right, and just do a token on BCH. Yeah, that might make sense.
Yep.
So one last one, because we've gone over our hour already. But Doge is a big one, I think, worth mentioning. And I was saying, fundamentally, I see it as Papa Musk coin at this point, where he's basically gonna, even if he's not already, he can very easily, any word that he says is fundamentally gonna drive what happens on Doge. So, and I see that as a problem. So some people don't see that as a problem, right? They like kings and they like authorities and so forth. I see that as a serious problem, because the whole point for me of cryptocurrency is the permissionless aspect of it. If you don't have a permissionless coin, then fundamentally you have a permissioned coin. And as soon as you have a permissioned coin, now you have a coin that is subject to arbitrary rules, which ends up going down the road exactly of fiat coins, right? Where it's like, at some point, it's going to be convenient to the ruling authority to inflate it, or do something equivalent to inflation, or to do something that makes sense for them that doesn't make sense for the majority of people using the network, or for the network itself.
Yes, but you're coming from the viewpoint of someone who wants an ambitious money for the world, right? In the case of Doge, you gotta look at it from their perspective.
Right.
From their perspective, before Musk came, It's a freaking dying meme coin. Okay, that's what it is. Like, okay, it's built around the meme of freaking Doge, and that meme it was an excellent meme. But none of that lasts forever, and it's fading out. It's fading out over time. I believe even the freaking dog died at some point. Uh,
Yeah.
so there's that.
Well, not just the meme aspect of it, right? But like, for example, if you listen to what Musk has said in the past, he's like, yeah, Doge is like Bitcoin, except it has inflation. That seems like fundamentally the way he viewed it. Oh, and also maybe it can scale if they attempt to scale it, right?
Basically, it's like Litecoin plus. Like Litecoin is 4x Bitcoin, and Doge is like 10x Bitcoin. That's basically it. That's basically what it is.
Right. But Musk, and again, I'm referencing him because again, I see him as the kind of the authority on Doge at this point. He likes inflation. He likes a coin that has inflation, and he can probably, have the protocol adjusted so that it will scale reasonably, as opposed to just copying what BTC done, which is what it's done in the past, or LTC has done, which is a copy of BTC. So you could have a thing that scales reasonably well, but it's not going to be permissionless. It's going to be captured right from the start, right?
And the thing about Doge is that because it was created as a meme coin and basically prospered as such, before Musk came in and still after Musk came in, there's really no process of getting anything done.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
there's a volunteer effort to port Electrum servers and wallet, but that's basically it. So there's no process to get anything done, and in the case of Doge, that basically results in nothing getting done, like, ever. Which kind of sucks. So in the case of scaling, that requires a lot of hard work. So if you don't have a process in place to make sure that people can come to consensus and get the things done, you just don't. And in the case of Doge, most of the holders don't even care because it's a meme coin. So that's where it was.
Yeah, and it's all traded on exchanges anyway.
Yeah, and then you get Musk here, and Elon seems to be mostly interested in, he has made comments about scalability and whatnot, but he mostly seems to be interested in continuing the meme coin path. So maybe at some point, if Doge actually gains significant non-custodial volume, which I highly doubt, maybe at some point he would do like let's bump it from 10x Bitcoin to 20x Bitcoin. That would do it. I can see that happening. But other than that, Elon gives, and at some point Elon gets tired. Elon would take away. You gotta be prepared for that, right? So
yeah. So there's kind of a pair of issues there. One is from a Doge perspective. Yeah, he's definite double-edged sword of the promotion of Elon Musk, and in terms of, you'll get a lot of promotion, but you're also going to become not permissionless anymore. You're going to be a controlled thing, and like you said, is when he gets bored of it, then what happens to you? But then the flip side of that is for BCH perspective. Would it be good to have a big promoter come in and really promote it? And I think it would be if we have the own independent economy and growth and organic existence already. Then I think it would be quite a powerful thing, right?
Yes, and I think at this point, at least, like a few years ago, I was pretty naive. But so I haven't given like if you ask me in like 2017 or 2018, well, I haven't really thought about all these things, so I was pretty naive. But looking back today, like okay, like a few like over those years, maybe we won't be ready, and that's why we were taking advantage of. But you know, today, if someone really influential came in, we have existing processes in place. We have, I hate to say it this way, but institutions in place. General protocols. We have BCHN. We have Riften Labs, and so on and so forth. And we have established some expectations. Okay, like the protocol is going to be updated, but not recklessly updated. We gotta be responsible with our choices, and information has to be spread. Every time we do that, we strengthen our position to receive help without getting compromised by it. And I think the work is never done, but I think we are on a path to get better with this. So like right now, uh, if someone of a big name comes in, he'll make a splash, and it will be tremendous. It will be so awesome, but we wouldn't need to compromise too much. And so we, despite us being lower in the ranks in the arbitrary coin market cap list, I think we are in a better position than most of the other coins, including Doge, in terms of handling this.
Right. Yeah, very well said. All right. So we've had enough roasting going on, I guess. We've been on for an hour and a half. We should probably wrap up. Did you guys have anything you wanted to, any additional roasts you wanted to throw out there before we close up?
Well, we can certainly mention all of our siblings. So SV, eCash, Nexa.
Oh shoot.
How you guys doing over there?
I don't. Yeah,
The summary is there's BTC, and it was totally fucked and hijacked, and a split was horrible, a terrible thing to do, but had to be done. And then there's people who split for really stupid reasons. And that's all I have to say about that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I mean, a lot of times, this guy's when this guy split, you can sort of see where they're going, right? And sometimes they explicitly advertise themselves as a thing, and they end up being exactly what they ask for. Like in the case of BSB, I mean, obviously they wouldn't say that word out loud, like spell it out, but basically they're like, okay, we split. We are going to base our things, base our chain around what Craig says, and we are going to scale recklessly. Well, that's exactly what they did, and they get what everyone predicted they would end up getting. So yay! It took a few years, but yeah. So there is that, and there are other ongoing things. Like okay, we split to pay me, basically, not even ourselves, but me. We split to pay me. Okay, so okay, that person got paid. Now what? It wasn't very clear. Okay, you're going to improve the software somehow. Okay, yeah, I guess that was done, and then now what? Um, uh, nothing new or additional really happened. So okay.
Yeah, I know
And
that story was just, it's really even more basic than that. It was just Omri doubling down on playing game theory against the wrong people, and then he lost. That's it.
yeah. And then
He thought he was going to win, right? He didn't intend to split. He thought he was going to win.
So yeah. Anyway, so that also kind of played out as advertised. And for The other thing, I don't know. I don't know nearly enough to comment yet. Maybe it hasn't played. It hasn't played out for a long enough time. And I can only wish them good luck. But so far, it seems like it was also going to play out as advertised. The original advertisement was that it is going to show as a testing facility to BCH. So that was the advertisement. It turned out that they didn't actually want to do that. They actually want to gain value for their chain, but as far as I can tell, it is playing out as the original advertised. So
That's brutal. The secret plan failed, and the cover story succeeded. Nice. All right. Let's wrap up here. So it's been good to talk with you guys. Thank you, Cheap Lightning, for joining us, and everybody else as well. Also for Jeremy, who joined us. We just intended to have a little fun talking shit about everybody, including ourselves. So I hope we all don't take this too seriously in terms of who's right and who's wrong. But I hope we also will take this very seriously in terms of let's make things better for everybody. Permissionless money. Let's have a separation of money and state. Let's try to achieve something meaningful. And I think part of that is just having a critical eye at ourselves and at everybody else, and have a little bit of fun. So thank you, everybody, for joining us. It's been good to talk, and we'll see you next time. Take care, everybody.
happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Yeah.
See you.
Yeah.